Hey, hi guys. Today I'm going to be going over a review of solving inequalities. The reason I'm doing this is that after looking at the discussion question from today, I had you guys list yourselves as a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5 how comfortable you were with solving inequalities, and I was surprised that there were a lot of you at a 1. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to start you off with some very basic inequalities and then work our way up to the multi-step inequalities with variables on both sides, which are like the big problems that you saw in Monday's videos. So right now I'm starting off with a basic inequality. The reason I say it is basic because there is no distributing, there is no combining on this type of problem. This is just straight solving, and we can solve this with 2 steps. Keep in mind that when you're solving, your goal is to get the variable alone. So that means I want this 3 to go away, I want this minus 11 to go away. When I am trying to isolate the variable, you want to start by canceling the thing that is not attached to the variable. The 3 is attached to the variable, so I'm going to wait until the very end to get rid of the 3. So what I'm going to do first is cancel minus 11 by doing the opposite, which is plus 11. Remember that you must do it on both sides. When I do that, we will keep the 3x. This will be 0 is greater than, and then that gives us 18. Then our last step is to separate these things. So I want to separate the 3 from the x, and I'm going to do that by dividing. So that is how we will get rid of our coefficients. So these 3's are now canceling. So we get x is greater than 6. And that is our solution set. So again, here, very basic 2 steps. We start by canceling the 11, then we cancel the 3, and we have our solution. In the next problem, you will see I am going to add some distributing to this problem. Okay. So this is not as simple as the first one because, again, I've added distributing. Remember that we know distributing is needed because we see parentheses, and the distributive property allows us to get rid of those parentheses. So I'm going to distribute that 4. 4 times x will give me 4x. And then 4 times positive 3 will give us a positive 12. That's all I can do on that side. So I'm going to rewrite the rest of the inequality. And after I've done that, you should notice that this is set up the exact same way as the first example. And now we just have 2 steps. We will start by canceling this plus 12 with a minus 12 on both sides. And we will be left with 4x, positive 12 and minus 12 make 0. It's greater than or equal to, and then 24 minus 12 is 12. And again, lastly, in our last step, we want to separate the coefficient from the variable. So we will divide, and we will do that on each side. And then our solution set will be x is greater than or equal to positive 3. So you can see that this one just had one extra step. In the beginning, we had to distribute, but once I distributed, we were back at a 2-step inequality. Cancel the 12, then cancel the 4, and we have our solution. In the next example, I'm going to add another layer. Here, we only had to distribute. In the next problem, you're going to have to distribute and combine like terms. All right, so here we are. Again, I notice that there are parentheses, so I always want to make sure I acknowledge those first. So we're going to use our distributive property here. And when I do that, those parentheses are going to be gone. So negative 8 times x will be negative 8x. We have a negative inside and a negative outside. When I multiply, a negative times a negative turns into a positive, and then 8 times 1 is 8. I'm going to rewrite the rest of my inequality. Doesn't quite look like that two-step inequality yet, so that means that there's a little bit more that I need to do. I notice that I have a x term here and an x term here, which tells me that those two things can be combined. So negative 8x, remember this is negative 1, so when I combine those, negative 8 and negative 1 will combine to make negative 9x. We combine the two x's, we're going to bring down that plus 8 and rewrite. Boom. Now this should look easy because we are back at the beginning where we have just a two-step inequality. So first I had to distribute, and those are our steps. So here we had to distribute, and then here we combine like terms, and now is where we begin to solve using our two steps. So step 1, we're going to cancel this 8 by subtracting 8 on both sides. That's going to leave us with a negative 9x. Positive 8 and minus 8 cancel. Less than or equal to, using my calculator, that's going to give me a negative 36. Make sure you use your calculator and make sure you have the right number there. And then lastly, we want to separate those, so we are going to divide. Now I'm not going to just divide by 9 because there's a negative here, so please make sure you divide by negative 9. And then I'm going to put a star here. You should have heard me mention in Monday's videos and some of the videos from last week that there's a special rule when solving inequalities that states anytime you divide by a negative, so we are going to flip. And we are flipping because it's a negative 9. And so that means that this less than or equal to is going to turn into greater than or equal to. The 9's cancel. We get x greater than or equal to. These are both negative, so that's going to turn into a positive 4. And so that will be our solution set, is that x is greater than or equal to positive 4. All of these had variables on one side, so I'm going to stop the video now, post some questions for you to answer with just variables on one side, and then there's going to be a second video that has variables on both sides, which is what you guys saw in Monday's lesson.